Hello, thank you for joining us once again on this beautiful late summer evening on August the 28th, 2011. Today we are talking about the many different ways that you can make money in real estate. Be sure to tune in to our website and our forums on landlordsjournal.com. Hope you enjoy the show. Thank you.
What's our show today on, John?
Today is renting to flipping. We're going to talk about all the ways to increase your wealth and make money with real estate. I mean, it's not just about being a landlord or renting property and all that kind of stuff. There's all kinds of different ways to make money, and we're going to kind of go through the list here of the different ways, with the first one being real estate agent. And a lot of times, real estate investors, as we've learned, don't like real estate agents. Why is that? Why don't real estate investors, like people at Creo Online, what's your take on why don't they like real estate agents?
Commission,
yeah.
They
don't like to have to pay a commission. You take a $200,000 apartment building, at 6 or 7%, that's a substantial amount of money. $12,000 or $14,000 coming right off the top. So a lot of times real estate investors don't like real estate agents. Yeah. They like to have their own list of people that buy property, a list of other investors that buy property, and which leads us into wholesaling. That's what wholesaling is.
Most of our properties we've bought that on our own, but we have
right.
bought a few that were listed.
We have.
That
so there
were brought
are
to us
pros
by
and
real
cons.
estate.
There are pros and cons. In real estate, it's good to. Sometimes it's good to buy with the real estate. Like they'll be in tune with the real estate or the investor community. We're not bad mouthing real estate agents by no matter or means.
No, I think they're valuable.
Yeah, but that's one way you can make money through real estate, is being a real estate agent. It's fairly easy to get to. Actually, I've heard that the real estate test is hard. We know someone who told us that he's a nurse and said that the real estate exam was harder than his nursing boards. I don't know if he's being facetious or if he actually thought that. But anyway, he did say that, in fact, and I'm not sure how true that is. We haven't taken the real estate exam to be licensed in our state, but I don't know. Do you guys have any opinions on that? How difficult it is to be a real estate agent? I would think that it wouldn't be too difficult. I don't know.
It's a big investment of time.
It is
to start out with. A lot of people, if you don't have your name out there, you're hitting the bricks and spending a lot of time for very little return. I had a cousin that tried to do it part time, and it's very frequently not worth your time to do it part time for that reason.
A lot of times I equate it with selling Avon or selling something like that. Yeah, some people make a go of it. Mm-hmm. It's either you do it really well or you can barely do it. It's a good part-time gig if you can develop a clientele, get a clientele, and all that kind of thing. But I think it's of course it's not for us, and I wouldn't be able to pay the bills being a real estate agent, and that's not my cup of tea. But that is one way of making money in real estate, and that you're pretty independent being a real estate agent, to my knowledge. Mm-hmm. I understand that you're fairly independent. You have to answer to your home office, but you do have access to the MLS, and it's always good to be friends with a real estate agent. Mm-hmm. That you want to have, as a real estate investor, you want to have access to the MLS. And what's the MLS again?
Multiple listing service.
To refresh our.
It's how you figure out what properties have recently sold for, and information that's not common knowledge. It's protected, kind of. You have to have a password and stuff.
Right. The only way that I would want to become a real estate agent is to have access to MLS, but it's much easier just to befriend a real estate agent and let them do it for you. It's much, much easier. But the next way is property management. Are we losing you?
Nope.
But the next way to make money in real estate is property management. Now, what do you guys think about property management?
We're glad they're out there.
I'm glad they're out there.
And they're in very limited supply where we live. I mean, the market is...
I think if you have the skills and the desire, you could probably do well with it, because we know some people that do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that they have the skills, you know, as far as fixing this and
Right. You have to
being
have
willing
staff.
to do that and being able to collect rent from a non-compliant tenant. I mean, you have to have a certain skill set, I would say, to make that successful.
Yeah, in our state,
How
you
are
have
they
to be a
paid?
broker to actually to be a property manager. You have to be a broker or work with someone that owns all their properties exclusively. Like if you have a company that owns 100 properties, you could be their property manager, which usually you're hired as an individual and not as a company. I mean, but usually you have to be a real estate broker in order to get into property management, or work under a broker to get into property management, and that's a barrier to entry that a lot of people face. That the reason why they don't get into that. But being a broker also gives you some other good things. There's actually a few real estate companies in our area. They're not as well known, but I think that's their primary purpose is to. It'd be like us starting a brokerage or a real estate company and just becoming a broker to manage our property, or to have access to the MLS or what have you. But property management is another way to make money in real estate. It's not the easiest way, it's not the most lucrative way, but it is a way to make money in property management, or make money in real estate, especially
But they usually don't own the properties too.
Right.
You're working for somebody still.
right. You're still I
mean, you have your own business, yes.
You're providing
but
a service.
You're providing a
for someone.
service, but you still have to answer,
Right.
to your clients.
Exactly. There's a lot of, and it's. I would venture to say, because I know.
The upfront costs are low to get into that.
Yeah.
You don't have to invest yourself in a property, but you.
To become a
To become a broker, though, you have to.
there's a pretty significant investment involved in that.
I'm not sure what it costs to become a broker. I'm not sure what the steps are.
But I'm pretty sure that's that
another-
does have a steep.
It's another test, and yeah, it's probably.
But you can work
fee.
under a broker. Like if it might be easier for you to work under a broker and do it that way, or work under a real estate agent until you got the licenses yourself. We know someone quite famous that did just that. I won't mention her name, but anyway, she did just that, and you could do the same. You can work under a broker, under a real estate agent, just to have access to MLS. And I think in this state you can legally do that. I'm not sure, but that's not what we're interested in as landlords. We're not interested in becoming a real estate agent. We're not interested in managing property. As a matter of fact, we want to get away from that. We want to get away from managing property. We want to get away from having anything to do with that. I can't say real estate agent because I'm not sure that might. I mean that's just something that I think that it'd be better for someone else to do for us instead of investing our time and resources in me or any of us becoming a real estate agent. I think it's better to. Although I have known investors to become real estate agents, I think you guys have too. I've known people that have the real estate investors that have become real estate agents, so they have direct access to the MLS. But I don't think that's real common. What we're interested in are flipping houses, buying rentals, investing in short sales, and finally mobile home investing. And wholesaling kind of goes along with the real estate agent property or the real estate agent thing. Wholesaling is good. Wholesaling is a good way to make a quick buck. You have to have a buyer's list, and it's basically buy low, sell high, but you have to have your buyer's list ready. You have to have a list. It's usually a list of investors that buy low to moderate level houses. You have to have a buyer's list ready to buy, ready to have cash in hand or to go and make an offer, and you go to the closing table and you take the difference between the two.
The profit margin's probably lower than what you expect.
Right.
Because you have to leave room for the middleman, like Bob always says. With that one, you have to be sure and leave room for the next guy. Not the middleman, but the next guy.
Exactly.
To move on up with wholesaling.
Exactly.
You know, if you're in a bird dog, you gotta have somebody willing to buy from you.
But that's a good way to, if you have no money, no credit, no whatever, you can use your skills to wholesale. But the hard part with that is, like I said, getting a buyer's list. You need to get a buyer's list. You get in contact with investor friends. Get in contact with, a lot of times people that are investors know people that are investors as well, and work that. Maybe go to the investor meetings, the real estate investor meetings. Usually every city has one. Bigger cities have one. We even have one.
And it probably works better in some markets than others.
Right.
You have to know what your market will what the best strategy is for where you live.
And in this day and age, I'm not sure how lucrative it would be, and I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And it depends on what your time's worth, but that's historically been a way that you can make some quick money in real estate. But it's like anything. You have to put forth the effort, and you have to decide whether you're going to treat it as a business or like as a part-time venture, and the people that make a go of it, that take it seriously and keep moving on, and focus on it, are the ones who are probably going to be successful with that. Just like a real estate agent, there's a lot of part-time real estate agents that it's not their primary deal. We've seen them come and go. A lot of times they're teachers or whatever. We've seen a little bit of everything. But a lot of times they're not
committed
they're not
making that a career.
That's why a lot of times we want to work with a broker. When we're dealing with a real estate agency, we want to work with a broker. Usually they're more committed. They know what they're talking about, and they're not going to be gone maybe 2 months from now, which a lot of times a real estate agent is. But you guys have anything to say about those parts? Losing interest?
No, we're good.
The flipping and the wholesaling, things were going, a lot more people were doing that than are doing it now, because the real estate market has slowed down so much. As far as the retail demand for houses has slowed down, that there isn't the price escalation
Right.
that people used to realize when they would flip a house. They could pretty well turn them over quickly and be rest assured that the value was going up during the balloon. And,
Exactly.
The same with wholesaling. Without the end consumer out of the equation, those ways have become probably more challenging.
They have become more challenging.
I remember the shows, Flip This House and
Right.
stuff. They were total idiots that were able to, they made money even though they
Totally failed.
Right.
They
They're
completely
keeping their
busted
budget.
their budget. They completely busted their budget and their time frame, yet still were able to make money. That's not that's not the case now. I would think that you'd have to be a lot smarter.
Yeah, it's more challenging than I think the days of is anybody being able to flip a house or wholesale a house are gone. They might be gone for quite a long time.
But I think there is a place for wholesaling now.
There is.
Because I was reading some statistics in some markets, like 40% or so rentals. Exactly. If I'm an investor and I want to be in Florida, but I live in another state, I need to find me a wholesaler that will charge a fee or whatever and look.
Right.
I think that's happening.
I think so too.
That's true.
I
think we're seeing a time where there's more investor
coming up.
more investor-owned homes
that.
versus owner-occupied. I just think that's going to be the wave of the future.
Yeah.
People don't want the hassle. People don't want the risk involved. People don't have the credit that they need
Right.
And that's the big thing.
in order to do those things. So I think I think investor-owned properties are definitely on their way up.
And those wholesalers are doing their
Well, that's what
work. They're contacting people and doing their due
Rents
diligence.
are going up. Where we are anyway, rents are going up.
Mhm.
Well, if we increased our rents, $75 in the past year and a half, that's a pretty substantial increase percentage-wise.
And that's what the
And,
markets are there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I first myself got a job in the town we live in, and I started looking around. I wanted to rent. I wanted to rent a place, a small apartment, because I didn't know, I didn't know how things were, if I was going to want to stay with this new job or whatever in this town. And the rental market here was pretty soft. There wasn't a whole lot of quality places that were available to rent, and I think
that
that's
was at a
gonna
good time.
change. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was in a time when people were buying.
Right.
There,
You'd think it would be
probably more now there's probably more demand for quality rental.
And what's interesting is
people that were renting back then. There's a lot more people renting that are going to be looking for nice places for families and stuff.
I know there's a lot of apartment buildings going up in our area. Have you noticed that? There's a lot of apartment buildings. And I just wonder, we have such success with the little 1 and 2 bedroom houses that a lot of, we've been warned from, some reputable people to stay away from. And conventional knowledge is wisdom has been that you want to steer away from one bedroom or 2 bedroom. But we've been, some of our most successful properties have been 1 or 2 bedroom. Actually, the successful properties have been 1 and 2 bedroom homes, and I just wonder if there is a market. And there's a lot of 1 bedroom apartments that they rent out. I mean, a lot of these apartment buildings are 1 bedroom condos, 1 bedroom apartments, whatever. And I'm just wondering if, and a lot of these apartment buildings don't allow animals, don't allow any kind of pets or anything. They don't have yards. There's all the things that go along with having your own home, your own space without having to interrupt or bother someone else. And I was beginning to think, and we haven't really discussed this a lot in detail as a group, but whether these little cottages, like little 1 and 2 bedroom cottages, where people have their own yard, they have their own space. Take their dog out for a walk, or have their own space instead of being confined to an apartment building or a townhouse or whatever.
It's more private.
Do people want? Is there a market for like a little small 800 square foot cottage, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom?
I think
I don't
so.
know. I mean,
I definitely
we've
think
seen
so.
we've seen places. We've seen little communities with those little cottages. They're you don't see them a lot, but they do exist. And I just wonder if that's like the next thing besides, the storage units. You see those everywhere. I mean, everywhere. Who would think that there'd be such a demand for a storage unit? I mean, if you sat here and asked me 10 years ago, who's renting storage units? I mean, why would you want a store? Why would you need that? Why would you want it? They're all over the place.
Yeah.
It's a big thing. So why isn't there a need or a demand for, and maybe there is, and maybe we could get on that, a demand for little 1, 2 bedroom cottages that individuals or people with small families can take advantage of to have their own space. That they don't need a 2,000 square foot house with all the.
Oh yeah, I think
trims.
America's downsizing. Stuff that I've been reading, the days of, as the middle class erodes, some people still want the large super houses, but I mean, I think the middle part of America is finding that they can do more with less.
Right.
And it seems like we're shifting more towards savings, in my opinion, like
Exactly.
what we did in the 30s. More people are saving than spending. They're holding on.
Right.
Instead of living outside their means, and that includes houses, because they have learned the hard way that houses are not assets.
Right.
Investors have been saying that for years, and just the average Joe Schmo on the street thinks, "Oh, I've got this big house; it's worth X amount of dollars. I can move, cash in, blah blah. I get equity, and well, all of a sudden you wake up one morning and it's worth 50% of that, and your mortgage is a lot higher than what it's worth. So." that was a hard lesson for a lot of people to learn, and so I think they're going to downsize.
Yeah, I want to revisit that just for a second because we talked about that. Your house, we had a whole show on your house is not an asset. I want to revisit it for like a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason people might ask, and we were asked, if they didn't see our last show, that why do we think your house is not an asset? Why do we have that? Why do we think that? Why do we feel that way?
Mm-hmm.
So why is that? Why do we feel that your house is not an asset? It's basically
because it makes no money for me.
Exactly.
Right. In the strict definition of an asset.
It brings no cash to you. If you were to have to quit work today, your rental property, and we're not saying houses are not assets. We're not saying that. We're saying your house that you live in is not an asset.
Right.
And that is because something would happen to you in your job today. If you get disabled or you just want to not feel like working anymore, your rental property will continue to make you money because they're going to continue to pay rent. They're going to continue to go to work to pay your mortgage, which in turn increases your equity that you can borrow against to pay for your toys and your standard of living and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
But your home, on the other hand, you're having to pay a bank to stay there. You're not receiving money from your house.
It's not a financial
And there are
asset.
exceptions to that. There's places in big cities where they rent rooms out, they have a duplex, but your space that you're living is not an asset. There might be a duplex, you might live in an apartment, whatever, but the space that you're living in, that you're paying your mortgage on, is not an asset. You might buy a duplex and you might live in half of it, and the overall structure would be an asset because you're renting half of it and they're paying your mortgage. I could go with that. But anything that takes money out of your pocket is not an asset. So that's why we feel that your house is not an asset.
I think you could argue though that the house is maybe an emotional asset. It's not a financial one in the strict sense of accounting, but people do need a roof over their head, and people do need their place of safety and where they store their stuff and where they put their family and where their kingdom is. People do want that. And it could be an apartment, I realize that, but a lot of people want the space and the privacy like we were talking about earlier.
But actually, in the strictest sense
In
of
the
accounting,
strictest
it
sense,
is
it's
an
not.
asset. In the essence of financially, anything that takes on the books, it's an asset. I mean, no one can deny that it's an asset. We're saying that it's not though. Because it's taking money out of your pocket. As far as cash flow goes,
Right.
If you do a cash flow analysis, it's not an asset. On the books, first, the strictest of financial terms, there's no accountant or CPA in the world was going to tell you your house is a liability. Your house is on the books an asset, but it's taking money away from you. If something, like I said, if you just decided you didn't want to work anymore, you decided you didn't want to, whatever happens, unless your house is paid for, and you're having to give money to stay there, it's a liability. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to have to pay taxes on it. You're going to have to pay insurance on it if you're smart. So it's money going out the door.
Even if it's paid for, it's still a liability. though.
Exactly.
Because you have taxes and upkeep.
Exactly. You have taxes, you have upkeep, and
And
all that kind of
insurance.
stuff. But I just
That's
wanted to mention
yeah.
that real fast.
One thing that I think is an interesting reflection of the change in the economy is 8 years ago, if you had if somebody was wanting to invest in property and they had $50,000 and they had 2 options, they could buy a 3-bedroom place and flip it, or they could buy 2 1-bedroom places for $25,000 a piece. Flipping was a lot more popular. It was seen like very attractive. I think that it was seen as that was the way to make quick money. You could make quick money. You could buy a 3-bedroom and flip it. You're never going to be able to sell those 1-bedroom units. You're not going to get any money back out of that, and demand was there. Consumer demand was there for properties, and property values were going up. But now, if somebody had, if I had $50,000 and all things being equal, I could buy a $50,000 property with 3 bedrooms or two $25,000 one-bedroom units in our town, I dare say I
Take the 3.
would probably take the one-bedrooms
Yeah,
now.
absolutely.
Now take the two
Absolutely.
Well, and
one-bedrooms.
I think that a lot of it has to come with our first 2 properties
Yeah.
were 1 bedroom, and they're
Well, you get just as much rent than you do with a 3-bedroom that has, the more people that are in the unit or the home, the more problems you have. The
but
more,
they're less desirable for sale
they're less
Yeah.
desirable for resale.
Nobody wants to.
A lot of times it'll be other
by
investors.
owner occupied, and that's the reason
Yeah.
that that the values are lower, even though the rents are nearly the same. I mean,
Right.
the difference. It's not like you double a 1-bedroom rent to go from 1 bedroom to 2 bedroom. You don't get that kind of.
No,
Nobody
I
agrees.
wish it was like that.
Right.
But you're right.
One-bedrooms are great. Nobody that lives in a one-bedroom house really. Very few people would want to own their own
Right.
one-bedroom house for their place for the lifetime.
Right.
We have found that they're transient young people that are upwardly mobile are the
Mhm.
ones that are actually looking for our one-bedroom units.
Exactly.
Some of our most desirable and reliable tenants have moved into our one-bedroom
Exactly.
houses.
That's
Yeah.
I don't know that that's a trend, but it sure has
Seems
looked that way.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
Sure helps us.
I mean, you don't, and you have to be careful because a lot of times, in order to save money, people will try to load their 10 kids and their doll, in a 1-bedroom house. So you got to be careful, with things like that. We haven't run into that. Knock on wood.
There's enough demand that we haven't had to entertain that kind of.
Exactly, and that's the buying rentals thing. And there was a discussion on Cree Online about, and we're not going to talk about it a lot today. I thought maybe we can do like a part 1 this week and a part 2 next week.
Good
But
idea.
there's a discussion on Cree Online, about cash cow rentals, and that's what we've done a lot of, like with the 1-bedrooms, with the duplexes. They're cash cows. We buy them cheap. The rent's high. All that kind of thing. And this guy that started this thread on Cree Online gets accused of making real estate investing sound too easy, and something he makes it sound like just anybody can do it and it's easy. A lot of times I think that if you read the post on there, that a lot of times people think that when we say easy, that the methodologies are easy or the experience is easy, when they really mean that the concept is easy. When they're talking about when we're talking about real estate and investing in real estate, the concept's very easy. If you just look at the concept, everyone should be doing it. It's crazy not to.
It takes guts and tenacity.
It does. It really does, and that's what separates the haves from the have-nots. And it's that whole rich dad, poor dad, the secret, all that kind of stuff that is very clear to us, but it's not to other people. And there's a people, and the guy had someone said that responded. He had some responses. Oh, you're making it sound too all this kind of negativity, just negative. And the guy had been he's been an investor for 31 years, so he's not
a novice.
He's not a novice.
Interesting.
But he was pretty much breaking it down
Right.
for people, kind of like what we do, making it sound like maybe it's too easy, maybe it's easier. It sounds easier than what you're making it out to be. The concepts are easy. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that when you put it into practice, it's easy. Dealing with the stuff that we have to deal with a lot of times. But the difference is you can hire someone to do that for you. You can't hire someone to do your job.
Yep.
Right.
If you have your stuff together enough and your finances in order and your house and you have your financial house clean, you don't have to do this, to manage this on a day-to-day basis. You can hire a property manager to do it. You can hire a person to do it. There's good people out there that will do this for you. My point is, you can hire someone else to do it.
Yeah.
You can't hire yourself to do your job. You can't hire someone to do your job. You can't leverage yourself out to, unless people are working for you, unless you have your own business, whether that be a dentist's office or whatever. You can't leverage other people unless you have your own business. And that's what you can do with real estate. You can leverage money and people, and that's the concept's very easy. Putting it in practice is difficult, and that's the evolution of your business. You're working it yourself from the beginning, to build equity. It's putting your blood and sweat and tears in it. A lot of times you gotta to go through the school of hard knocks to do that. You gotta deal with the stuff that we've already dealt with for all these years. In order to graduate to I can afford to have a property manager now. I can afford to hire staff. I can do that. But you got to go through those growing pains, and it's the people that can't see the end or can't make it through the end for whatever reason, because there's all kinds of reasons. They have children. They have they have poor planning or whatever, that they can't see the end result. But a lot of times it's the concepts are easy, and that's what we talk about a lot, our concepts. But putting into practice is much more difficult.
We're coming up on 4 years as a group doing this, and you two have been doing it even longer.
Right.
But I think that we're still as a lot of businesses partners will go together, and that they will fail. They will have lost and been gone after 4 years.
Right.
But one of the things, but the concepts are easy. Something looking back over 4 years, it's taken longer than I thought it would. But I think part of that too is that we've been that you have to be careful and make the right decisions. You have to be ready to act when the right opportunity comes along, but you also have to be patient and wait for those opportunities. And I think one of the things that we've done right is that we have kept it local. We've learned, we know our own market.
Right.
We know our own market. We didn't. I remember going to a seminar, and we were tempted with there were enticements to invest in like the Gulf Zone, Gulfport area. And down along the Gulf Coast after
Jump
Katrina.
on our tour bus and we'll show you around.
Katrina,
and
invest in this house.
Yeah, it sounded very, very good, but we wouldn't have had our finger on the pulse of our asset being that far away, and
we've been an outstate owner
we wouldn't
too,
have. We would not have learned. Yeah, no, we would not have learned. I don't think we would have learned near as well how to take care of ourselves, and making our own decisions locally has taught us a lot about what's a good deal and what isn't, and we can go look. We go and look, and
I think there is room for that, investing in other states and that kind of thing. But I think it's like you say, it's independent study. Real estate investing, independent study, or 401. Some kind of advanced level where you're seasoned yourself and you have your financial house in order as on a personal level and as on a company wide level, or on that you can afford to do that in case something went wrong. We didn't have that luxury right now. We're not comfortable with doing that. That's a higher risk. That's a higher level of that's the Warren Buffett thing. I mean, all of his the stuff he owns. It's not all in his area, but he's evolved into that. He started out selling. He had a pool table business. He's renting out pool tables to game halls and stuff like that. It was very localized, and he evolved into that. We need to evolve. We can evolve into those kinds of things. It's not to mean that we shy away from that completely. We are now. It doesn't mean we're going to do it in the future.
Right.
It doesn't mean we're not going to invest in real estate in Florida or wherever. We might find an opportunity, but right now in this point in the game, it's not there. We have to evolve into that, and that's what business is. That's what people are. it's evolution, and you evolve into things, and you, depending on the decisions you make now, depends on where you end up. I mean, and that's part of what we're discussing now. What path you choose to take.
So is that a good ending to part one?
Well, I mean, yeah, that's part one, and that's buying rentals. That's like doing for long-term investment. And I wanted to just discuss what they're talking about on Creel Line, the cash cow. We're not going to have time to run out of time today to talk about tax liens and investing in short sales, but I thought maybe we could pick up that next time.
Good idea.
Okay.
But the point being that there's several different ways to invest in real estate or to get involved in real estate and make money, and that's not necessarily being a landlord or buying to rent out. That could be part of your strategy. So I think that's
Very
for
nice.
part one.
Part
All right.
one. Tune in for part two, America.
Okay.
Thank you for watching
Bye-bye.
today.
Thank you for joining
Bye.
us today here on landlordsjournal.com. Be sure to tune in next week when we will be in the beautiful state of Delaware discussing part 2 of this very interesting topic. Be sure to check out our forums and our sister website, WeMakeMoneyInRealEstate.com. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.